Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you for taking a chance on After the Fall. This is episode 1, and it's the beginning of a story I've been waiting a long time to tell. If you enjoy what you hear, and you'd like to follow Trent's journey, I'd really appreciate your support. Leaving a comment, rating the podcast, following the show, and sharing it with someone else are some of the best ways to help independent creators like me reach more listeners. Your support helps keep this story alive and allows me to continue bringing new episodes to you. Now, let's go back to where it all began. I walked over to the desk in my room. I had decided if I was unable to contact my mother by phone, I would at least try to write to her every day. I haven't spoken to her since that day, the day it all started. Dear Mom, it's Friday, July 13th, 2026. If you're reading this, then I made it home. I guess I should start at the beginning. It all started on what should have been an ordinary day. The first thing I remember is the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. I was in Birmingham, Alabama, because I was supposed to meet an old college friend. That was the plan anyway. The kind of plan people make when they still think life is simple. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the screen for a second before I reached for it. A missed call, then another. My mother. I didn't call back. I told myself I would. I always told myself that. That's one of the stupidest things about me. I always think I've got more time. I sat the phone down and stood up. The room felt too quiet, too small, like it was holding its breath with me. I got dressed slowly, trying not to think about home. Trying not to think about Maupin, Oregon. Trying not to think about my mother being all the way back there in a town so small you could blink and miss it. Trying not to think about the fact that I'd missed too many days taking care of her, lost my job because of it, and still felt guilty. I was 26 years old and already felt like I'd failed at everything that mattered. Birmingham was loud. Big cities always are. Too many cars, too many people, too much movement. I kept my head down and walked close to the buildings, like the walls could somehow make me invisible. Crowds make me nervous. Always have. Heights too. Mostly anything that makes me feel trapped. My phone buzzed again. I looked at it. The text read, "Running late. Same place. Don't leave." I frowned. "Yeah?" I muttered to myself. The friend I was meeting used to know me better than most people. Back when we were in college, he was the kind of guy who could walk into any room and make it feel easier. I was the opposite. I was the guy in the corner pretending not to exist. The moment I stepped inside, I regretted it. The place was packed. Too much talking, too much noise, cups clinking, espresso machines hissing, people laughing like the world had never given them a reason not to. I stopped just inside the door and looked around. Then I saw him. Mason. He stood up from a booth near the back and waved me over like no time had passed at all.
Trent.
Mason. We shook hands. It felt strange, not bad, like meeting a ghost that still remembered your name.
Man, it's been a while.
Yeah,
You always were the quiet one.
you always talked enough for both of us. He laughed at that and sat back down. I sat across from him, but I kept my back to the wall. Old habit. Makes me feel safer, like I can see everything coming.
I'm glad you came.
I almost didn't.
Yeah?
A lot going on. He studied me for a second. I could tell he wanted to ask more, but he knew better than to push too hard right away. Then he asked about my mom.
You still taking care of her?
That hit harder than I expected. Yeah,
How is she doing?
she's hanging on. That was the truth, just not the whole truth. I had spent so long protecting myself from people that I forgot how to let anybody in, even someone trying to help. Mason nodded like he understood, but I don't think he did. Not really. We stepped outside with our coffee cups in hand. Mason wanted to catch up. I wanted to get back to the hotel and disappear for the rest of the day. He asked me if I wanted to get a drink later. I told him no at first. He kept pushing. Finally, I gave in. One drink. That was all. That's how it usually starts. One drink, one phone call, one wrong turn, and then your whole life changes. As we started walking, my phone buzzed again. I looked down. For half a second, I just stared at it. Mason noticed.
You gonna answer that?
I let it ring out. No.
Everything okay?
Yeah, it was another lie. The bar was dim and quiet enough that it almost felt calm. Mason talked more than I did, which was normal. He told me about work, about the city, about people we used to know. I barely touched my drink. I wasn't really listening, not to him anyway. I was thinking about my mother, thinking about the missed calls, thinking about how easy it is to ignore the people who matter most until it's too late.
You still look at the world like it owes you something.
Because it usually does. He laughed, but I didn't. Then he asked me about my dad. That question always landed wrong.
You ever talk to your dad?
My face went cold. No,
Sorry, I didn't mean...
forget it. He raised his hands like he was backing off, but I could tell he'd already hit a nerve. He asked if I ever talked to my mom about him. I looked away.
Why not?
No, because I never had the guts to ask. Because I was afraid of what she'd say. Because some answers change the shape of your life forever. But I didn't say any of that. Because I never had a reason to. That was a lie, too. The worst kind. The kind you tell because the truth hurts too much to say out loud. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it. The TV above the bar changed from sports to breaking news. That got everybody's attention. The anchor looked panicked, even though she was trying hard not to sound panicked.
We are receiving reports from multiple locations around the world of a large celestial object entering the atmosphere.
People started turning toward the screen. Mason looked at me like I might know what was going on. I didn't. Not yet.
Officials are still determining the size and trajectory of the object, but early reports indicate it is slowing in a way that cannot yet be explained.
The room got quieter. Then the anchor said the words that made my stomach drop.
The object appears to have stopped.
Stopped? Mason said. I didn't answer. My eyes stayed on the screen. Static flashed. Then the emergency alert hit every phone in the room at the same time. Mine included. A low rumble rolled through the building. The lights flickered, then flickered again. My whole body went tense. We need to go!
Yeah, no kidding.
People started moving fast after that. Too fast. Some toward the doors. Some toward the windows, like they thought they could see the answer if they just looked hard enough. I already knew better than that. There are moments in life when you know something is wrong before your brain catches up. That was one of those moments. When we got outside, the sky looked wrong. Gray, heavy, sickly. People were standing all over the street, staring upward. I looked too. When I saw it, something huge hanging in the sky, motionless, like it was watching us. Then the sound came. A deep, violent roar that seemed to shake the air itself. And then I saw the first streak tear across the sky. Then another. Then dozens. "Mason, get down." And my voice sounded thin even to me. "Get down." One of the objects slammed into a building a few blocks away and lit up the street with an explosion of fire and glass. People screamed. The ground shook. I grabbed Mason and dragged him behind the corner of the building just as another impact hit somewhere nearby. Mason stared at me, wide-eyed.
What the hell are those?
I peered around the corner just long enough to see one of them crash through the street. Black, egg-shaped, massive, too massive. Eggs?
What?
Those are eggs. I wish I could say I was joking. I wasn't. I didn't know how I knew. I just knew. Another one crashed nearby and destroyed a parked car like it was nothing. The city was screaming now. Everywhere I looked, people were running. I grabbed Mason by the arm. "Move," and we ran. It was all I could think about. Just run. Keep moving. Don't stop. Don't look back. The street was chaos. People were screaming everywhere, and every few seconds, another impact shook the ground hard enough to make it feel like the city was coming apart under my feet. Mason was just ahead of me at first, but it was hard to keep track of him with everybody running in every direction. A woman stumbled out into the road and fell hard on the pavement. Somebody else tried to help her up and got pushed back when another blast echoed down the street. I remember looking to my left and seeing a man on the ground holding his arm, staring up at the sky like he didn't understand what was happening to him. I wanted to stop, I almost did. But then I heard Mason shouting my name ahead of me and I kept moving.
"Trent, this way."
I turned and followed him through the crowd. Then I heard it. A deep cracking sound. Not from the sky, from the building across the street. I looked up and saw a row of windows bend inward like the whole side of the building had been punched from the inside. People on the sidewalk started screaming and running away from it, but there were still too many of them in the open. Then the building started to fall. At first it was just a section. Then the whole front side gave way. Concrete, glass, and metal came crashing down right in front of us. I stopped so fast it felt like my body jerked against itself. Dust exploded into the street. A car was crushed under the falling debris like it was made of paper. People were thrown to the ground. Some got back up, some didn't. I could see bodies scattered across the pavement. People laying there in the middle of the street, stunned or broken or both, and I just stood there for 1 second too long, trying to make sense of it. Trying to find Mason. That was the first time I really saw how fast everything could fall apart. People were already being turned into wreckage. "Mason!" I shouted. No answer. I turned in a circle, coughing through the dust, trying to spot him through the smoke and panic. "Mason!" Still nothing. The crowd was moving in waves now, people pushing past each other, slipping on broken glass, screaming for help that wasn't coming. I couldn't see him anywhere. Not in front of me, not behind me, not to the side, nothing. Just strangers and rubble and bodies on the ground. For a second I stood there thinking I should wait. Thinking maybe he had ducked behind a car. Thinking maybe he was just ahead of me and I'd catch up in a minute. Thinking maybe if I stayed in one place long enough he'd find me. But the dust kept rolling through the street, and every second more people were running past me with that look on their faces. That look that said they weren't thinking anymore. They were just surviving. I reached into my pocket and checked my phone again, like there was still a chance it would do anything useful. No signal. Just a dead screen and my own reflection staring back at me. Mason knew where I was staying. If he got separated from me, maybe he'd try the hotel. Maybe that was the first place he'd go. Maybe that was the first place either of us had left to go. I looked one more time through the smoke. Mason! Nothing. My chest felt tight, not from running, from the thought that maybe I'd just lost the only person I knew in this city. I swallowed hard and looked back the way I'd come. The hotel was still out there. Maybe not safe, maybe not even standing by the time I got there, but it was the only place I could think to go. So I made the only choice I had left. I turned and started running again. Alone this time. The streets were getting worse by the second. Sirens in the distance, people yelling, cars abandoned in the road, dust hanging in the air like smoke after a fire. And all I could think was that the world had already started changing, whether anybody was ready or not. I didn't know if Mason was alive. I didn't know if I'd ever see him again. I didn't know what was falling from the sky or what would crawl out of it later. All I knew was that I had to get back to the hotel. Maybe, if things settled down, if things ever settled down, maybe he'd find me there. By the time I got back to the hotel, the world was already starting to come apart. The TV stayed on in the background, feeding me the same kind of message over and over. Stay calm, stay indoors, do not panic. That's what they kept saying, even as the reports got worse. Even as more of those things fell. Even as nobody had any real answers. I stood at the desk in my room and opened the notebook I'd brought with me. That's when I started writing to my mother. Not because I thought she'd get it right away, not because I thought it would fix anything. I just needed to say something before the day got worse. I tried calling her back. The line rang and rang until it went to voicemail. I hung up before I could hear her voice message finish. I couldn't handle it. Not then. Not with the world collapsing around me. The TV suddenly cut to static. The room went quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner. Then another impact hit somewhere far off, then another and another. I looked up. I knew even then that this was only the beginning. 12 hours later, those rocks would hatch, and my theory stopped being a theory. I was right. And everything only got worse from there. Thank you for listening to After the Fall, Episode 1. I hope you enjoyed the beginning of Trent's story. This is only the start, and things are about to get much, much worse. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate your support. Following the podcast, leaving a rating or review, and sharing it with friends helps more people discover the series and makes it possible for me to keep creating new episodes. If you'd like to be part of the journey, let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your theories or what you think is coming next. Thank you again for spending your time with me. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, sometimes surviving isn't the hardest part.